Yes, you're still on to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. We've been looking at the leadership of the 10th Assembly, the projections, the permutations, and, the agenda for the 10th Assembly. Now we're making progress with, in the same breath, with the same conversation, as we welcome Dr. Taiwo Ojo, who is a strategic leadership consultant and CEO, Kish Global Consultants. Thank you very much, Mr. Ojo, for joining us on Sunrise Daily.
Good morning, Buki. Thank you for having me.
So as we begin the conversation, first of all, let's look at the 10th Assembly. I'm sure that you've been following a lot of the conversations, the zoning factor, the calls for competence, character, and of course the ranking principle of the National Assembly. Now, as you follow all of this, what are your thoughts? What do you think that the party, particularly the political party of the predominant members of the National Assembly, what should they be considering, in choosing the leaders of the 10th Assembly?
Thank you for that beautiful question. Once again, good morning, everyone. Politics in Nigeria looks like a war, but politics should not be a war. Politics should be something that drives the policy that will produce good governance and lift your people out of poverty. But the way we run our politics in Africa is quite different, because there is enormous power attached to that office, especially with the survival instinct that is common in our culture. So let me talk about the last election. Nigeria made a whole lot of progress. We hardly accept defeat. Even in the United States, Donald Trump did not accept defeat. So it's not only about our culture in Africa. It is the culture of every human being. We hardly accept defeat. Everybody wants to go into a battle and win. That is what Machiavelli said. You enter the battle and you win. But I don't want to engage in those social media, all our young people, because most of them do not understand history about elections. Looking back from 1999 to date, 2023 election is still the best. The only mistake I wouldn't know, was the INEC transmission of the result. But Beavers is the joker. So what do we do as a people? Because we have to be involved. That's what we call civic engagement. Everybody must be involved, because politics is a big business. Your economy, everything you do is affected by policy, by politics. So who do you vote into that position of authority to represent your interests matters a lot. So like I said, Nigeria is making progress, and I want to appreciate INEC. Though everybody is castigating them, but there was a lot of improvement, especially with the introduction of technology and also the involvement of youth. Now everybody knows now. If you ask all those politicians, they know now that if I don't do well, I'll be kicked out. So as we go into the 10th National Assembly, the incoming government, that I know people are going to court, which is a civil case, is good. Let us focus on our nation, national development. What do we want to do? What is our leadership and governance? What is the policy direction of the administrator? And one thing I want to recommend for the new government is what I call decisive leadership. Decisive leadership. If I want to mention a leader that demonstrated that thing in Nigeria from 1998, President Obasanjo demonstrated it. Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola demonstrated it. Decisive leadership is for you to have the courage, despite the threat and the ethnic prejudice, bias, stereotype that has held our country abandoned for years. Take decisions that will be in the interest of the country. Nigeria is bleeding. In the last 8 years, we have been bleeding because of the lack of decisive leadership. So we need to remove that lens of nepotism and put emphasis on competence. Everyone is competent in all zones in Nigeria. But the problem I have in Nigeria as a strategic leadership expert, not only in Nigeria, across Africa and across the black world, is the merit issue, which is a big deal that we must look in towards, we must address now.
Well, Dr. Ojo, my colleague asked a question earlier on, as a follow-up to, the similar commentary that you're making now about the need for competence. She asked if those issues are mutually exclusive, and to ask it in a different way. Some would say there's competence everywhere. There's competence in all regions and religions. So shouldn't the decisions, be reflecting the diversity of Nigeria as represented in the National Assembly when those decisions, when those consultations are being made, at the party level and with members-elect who will also be deciding who leads them?
Okay, thank you for that good question. I know people talk about competence, capacity, etc., but politics will thrive competence. One thing I always want to encourage people in politics is to balance power. Balance the tribe, the religion. We know religion is a big baby in the room. We are not making progress because of our emphasis on religion. But you don't use religion to give good leadership. If you go to the Middle East, they are Muslim. If you go to China, they don't even have religion. Some, they practice Mao, but they are lifting their people out of poverty. So one thing I want to do, because of the national cohesion, because of the warmongers, if you go to Twitter, social media nowadays, it's abuse everywhere. We must move past that level and come to that level of how do we build our country from the level that we have found ourselves. So they must balance the national cohesion, especially for the president-elect that we've known, that we follow for a year, for years. He's a strategist and he dialogues, he reaches out to people. So I believe they will do the right thing as we pray along with them. Because it's one thing for you to want to do the right thing. It's one thing for you to surround yourself with your people that won't tell you the truth. There's so many people now that are looking for positions and they have no good motive to solve problems. They only see position as a means of survival to livelihood, which is not supposed to be why you want to go to leadership position. You must want to go to leadership position to serve your people and solve problems. While you are serving your people, your needs will be met. But like I said, in Africa, we must balance national cohesion, reconciliation, security, because if there is no security, you might not be able to rule well. People are not happy. Everybody is angry in Nigeria. Even if you go out, you see the way people drive, our attitudinal behaviors, our issues as a people is really nothing to write home about. You are adding anger with hunger. And so many things because of the economic issues and the pains that people have been exposed to years back. We must look at the national cohesion. How do we bring everybody to the table? And one thing I want to tell you about a tribe in Nigeria is this: they are very fair. Look at President Obasanjo government. Fair. I'm not supporting any candidates. I'm a leadership expert, so I work for the good of the country. Anyone that is there, we work for the national good. The southern people, they are fairer because they want to balance the system because of the high level of education. And I believe that is what we should expect with the new incoming government.
And perhaps that's where the independence of the National Assembly will come to play. And as a result, some of the permutations are to the effect that if the party now decides to zone to a particular region that they believe is deserving, then those who are in pursuit of their ambition, citing the ranking principle, will go to the floor to test their popularity, to test the outcome of the elections. Are we about to witness, if that will be the case, are we about to witness a repeat of events of the 8th National Assembly?
As a strategic expert, I believe that one can never happen. Leadership is very, very key. The president is very, very key. The type of person that we know the president-elect for, that issue will never happen. I know people are desperate for positions, but party supremacy is key. You use the party to win an election. So because of the national cohesion that I've been speaking about, they will zone. When they zone, if they zone a position to your region, you vie for it. Because if actually you want to serve, you don't need to be desperate. Because when you are desperate for position, you won't do well. You won't do well. The president-elect is from the southwest. The vice president-elect is from the northeast. So 4 zones remaining. So they must share those 4 positions among those 4 zones, and also consider the religious balance, because people always say Muslim, but you know, most people from the southwest, they do not really pay emphasis on religion because of our nation. But let me speak for a general Nigeria. People in the north, central, and etc. They should balance so that people can have a sense of belonging. I know there are so many new members in the National Assembly. So rebels might come. People might want to take position and cause issue. But one thing I know, and I'm advising the incoming administration, is discipline. You must be in charge. You must be in charge, because I remember 1999, there was a problem in the Senate. Evanewere, Chuba Okadigo, Bayosayen. In 2015, the same problem, Tabua and etc. In 2011 and 2015, the same problem, Bukola Saraki and Dogara. They balanced, but because they fought, and you notice that there was no peace all through the time of that 8th National Assembly. But one thing I want to say is this: we don't need a rubber stamp legislation. What we need is legislation that will create policies and programs that will be in the interest of the collective good of Nigerians. That is what we should focus on. What is the competence level of the person coming? What is your plan? What is your strategic agenda? What you want to achieve in the next 4 years? Don't let us put goals in 10, 15 years. It's not common with our people in Africa. Let us focus on the 4, 8 years. What are those policy decisions that you want to make that will be in the good interest of the collective good of the people?
Okay. I'm sure that my colleagues in Abuja have, questions in that breath for you, what those decisions should be. But before I now take it to them, if I caught your drift earlier on, you sort of advocated that the Senate presidency should go to the South. So for the House of Representatives speakership positions, there are calls for it to go to the Northwest, but there are also aspirants who are from the North Central. So clarify your position for the Senate presidency position, and where do you think the speakership should go to?
This is a personal opinion, not my strategic work. It's a personal opinion, so it might be an expo for the incoming government. But if I want to tell them, because we work in future, we work based on what will come in 5, 10 years time. So if I want to tell them how those 4 positions will be shared, the Senate president must come from the South. Not that I don't want Southeast, but if they choose Southeast, there might be issue with the tribunal, because you don't want to go back to the Evanewere, Chuba Okadigo's issue, especially now that the country is divided. Normally, I could have wanted the Southeast, but let us take it to the South to balance. You now take the speakership to the North Central, maybe from Benue or Plateau, because North Central, they have never become a speaker. You take the deputy Senate president to the Northwest, get a senator from Kano, calm him down, and the deputy Senate president, the deputy speaker, maybe from the Southeast. I think everything will be settled. There's so many positions that are coming up, and everybody will be represented. Like I said, you must go to equity, diversity, and make sure that there's so many women and youths in the new government. Don't let us see the same old faces, former governors. All those things does not give someone credibility. You can put them, let them go and do ambassador and go and be sleeping. But for real policy decision, get young people, women, young technocrats. Nigeria is dying. We have so many people in the diaspora doing well. Cut them. Let them come and help our country. No matter the passport that we have, Nigeria is our country. No matter the passport that you hold, you are a second, you are a third, you are a fourth, you are a 5th class citizen there, including your children. So let us build our country now. The patriotism is lacking, and I know the reason. The leadership has been for years. So we need to balance those powers. So like I said, Speaker, North Central, Senate President, South, Deputy Senate President, Northwest, and Deputy Speaker, Southeast. Everybody is in the room. You now reach out and make sure that there's reconciliation, and let us first have a country to rule on. All this brigades fighting is not helping anybody. I travel a lot and I see the way people talk everywhere about their country. I marvel. We are in this Africa. We are living and we are doing what we are supposed to do to bring goodness to our country. But people, the word that comes out of their mouth is not too good. Even enlightening people. So we need to have that belief in our nation.
Dr. Joe, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are a strategic leadership consultant. So let's see, how do you think the 10th Assembly, what should the 10th Assembly be doing in a way to help the next government, the new government, in the area of vision building and sharing and communication with the citizens? Because there are some who argue that Nigeria is where it is. The citizens are losing patriotism because there is no central vision built in. Attention is not paid to the national anthem and the pledge, which are supposed to be like a central vision for the country. So how do you think the National Assembly, what should they be doing to help the new government get to pushing out that vision and communicating it effectively?
Thank you, Nelta. You know, in one of those documents that I worked on national orientation strategic policy document, which is done for just 4 years, I listed 4 key priority areas that anyone that will do well in governance must focus on. Number 1, the leadership and governance that you spoke about. Number 2, peace and security. Number 3, behavioral change. Our attitude as a people of Nigeria. Our attitude as a people. And the last one, policy engagement. You know, back to your question about the National Assembly. You know, it's not to just occupy position as Senate President, Speaker, enjoying the perks of office that makes you a good leader. Look, let's go back to our First Republic. Look at our 3 core leaders then, Ahmadu Bello, Obafemi Awolowo, and Nnamdi Azikiwe. Why do we still talk about them till today? Because they shape the policy direction of the country. Do we have policy direction now? Yes. But are we running towards the right policy direction? No, because of the lack of political will. You need a leadership that will create a vision. What do we want to do? You know, last week I was reading something in the Economist and I noticed Brazil, India, Russia, they were trying to get their own currency to tackle United States dollars and China. And I told someone, I said, that is policy direction. All those invisible things that you can't hold with your hand, those things are why you are voted into leadership position. Look at the United Kingdom. Look at the people in the House of Commons and House of the Lords, especially House of Commons. They are competent. You know, they go back to their constituency. The bill that is sponsored is needed to solve the problem. But our problem is we just, you know, raise so many bills that does not add to the current problems that we have as a nation. So the 10th National Assembly, they have their work cut out for them. But one thing I love to say is elect a good leadership. And like I said, the president of the country matters in Nigeria. What goes on in the head of the president matters. You can't give that job to anybody, to a chief of staff or to a minister or to a secretary. The president matters. And our prayer is, let us get it right this time around. Leave policies will always come. Like we refer to it as electocracy. Every 4 years. Election does not solve problem. It's a policy that solves your problem. Policy and the program that you have. Yeah.
I think a lot of people will agree with you indeed that policy is key. What sort of policy do you think we should pursue now? Because a number of people agree that national cohesion should be priority for whatever government is coming in, and also even for the National Assembly. How do you think that can be pursued as a policy?
Thank you, Mark. You know, like I said earlier on to Bukola, I spoke about national cohesion and reconciliation. You know, Archbishop Matikuka said the same thing. Professor Olenka said the same thing. But one word that I would love the new government to focus on is the decentralization. I don't want to call it restructuring because people have diverse meaning to it. How do you take the government back to the people? Decentralization. Reduce that power in the center. Because if they take you to that position in the center, you might misbehave. You might misbehave because the power of the president and the federal government is too much and they have low capacity to demonstrate that they can perform. So decentralize those things. We see how the 2014 conference Can you bring it to bear? Your first 3 months in the office, make those things happen. Power, railway, airport, take those things down to the people. Education, health, so that people can see that things are moving. All these things are not rocket science. Even in China, that you always say they are dictatorship, they are blah blah blah, they don't practice democracy. They are lifting their people out of poverty. The lives of their people are being improved upon every day. So what are we doing to the life of our people in Nigeria when you are elected to leadership position? And secondly, I want our people to focus more on the states, subnational. There are so many states in Nigeria that are not doing anything. The state must perform for the federal to complement what they are doing. 70% of Nigerian states are dormant. They are not doing anything. They just go to Abuja, collect money, share money, and come back. You can't be eating on collection of money like a taker, and you perform. You must generate your money so that people will know that when you generate, you use it for the good of your people. So, like I said, decentralization, that's the word that I'm trusting God that they could have the political will to make happen.
Well, Dr. Taiwo Joe, we have to thank you for your thoughts. You are a leadership consultant and an analyst. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this beautiful Wednesday morning. Just to also mention some of the things that he said earlier about, he said not talking restructuring, decentralization, that only recently the president signed into law the approval for states to be able to take part in railway, power generation, etc. It was a constitutional amendment that recently was signed into law by the president. So let us hope that those who are coming in on the saddle will take advantage of these new provisions in the Constitution, especially items that have been removed from the exclusive list and now put on the concurrent, and, you know, hopefully bring developments to the lives of their people. Just before we go, we have some feedback from our viewers. We have this first one from Shom Ayubadang, talking about the 10th National Assembly. He says, our elected leaders at the National Assembly should know we are a diverse country, so rotation should be in place for the positions in the Assembly for peace and progress, and also not to throw away merit and competence.
And then there's this tweet from Professor Imonoka Enakena. He says, to assuage concerns about ethnocentrism, religion, and competency or capabilities, the National Assembly must utterly be guided so that no region or religion will feel shortchanged in the 10th Assembly. The healing process from the outcome of the 2023 national elections must start from the NAS selection of their leadership positions.
One is from Festus Akimboyewa. He says, our country has never been so divided, and to bring calm to our country, incoming 10th NAS members must put premium on national interests and not personal interests when electing their leaders. This is what will be good for Nigeria and all Nigerians. Self-interested politicians must not do anything that will divide us further. Well, we do thank you for your mails. We thank you for your tweets. Keep them coming. And thank you for sharing your morning with us. I am Bukola Koka.
Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Neota Egbe. Have yourself a beautiful day.